Something was still bothering me about this press conference that was held by the 7th Fleet after the issue with the Fitzgerald. Now, we are a long way from the years right after 9/11, where everybody was kind of looking over their shoulder, and we looked at all events like this through very suspicious eyes. 2002, 2003, 2004. As we got away from that event, life somewhat normalized as much as it could, and people stopped really looking at things that close. What bothered me the most, I think, about this press conference was this man was at a press conference speaking about an event that there's absolutely no way at this point could have been ruled out as terrorism. It was only 32 hours later when this man was in front of microphones talking to reporters about this event. They could not possibly have debriefed the crew from the Philippine vessel. They could not possibly have completed all of the interviews of the crew of the Fitzgerald. They could not have been able to do a true assessment of the damage at this time. It just wasn't possible. They didn't have the time. And another thing that bothers me about this is in this press conference, and we've covered this, 3 separate times the man says the event happened at 2:20. And he didn't say at around 2:20 or in 2:20-ish or sometime. He says 2:20 specifically. And to this day, if you go to the 7th Fleet, it still says 2:20. No one has bothered to update it. If you go to Commander, U.S. 7th Fleet, which actually isn't this man anymore, it says 2:20. And no update to this. They seemed very sure of the time of the event. And when they were confronted by the Japanese about it being 1:30, they didn't refute it, but they didn't take issue with it. They weren't going to say the Japanese were wrong, but they weren't going to change their time either. Now, we've watched this over and over and over again, and something popped up that I hadn't seen before. This is the report. And they talk about the Fitzgerald coming down here and having these 3 contacts, the Wanhai, the Crystal, and the Merskavora. Now, we've not really talked about the Merskavora because it was not really, at the time, relevant. But I wanted to look into every little detail because if they were being sloppy or if they were trying to telegraph something, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. Let me show you something I found. Now, when they initially put this out, I got a copy of this where they had the times labeled here all wrong. And they quickly retracted the report and they put it back up again. And I'll see if I can find that video I did that shows that they had the Fitz here at 1:29, but the time that they assigned here for the Crystal was 1:20. So it was some kind of a weird time warp. But the most important thing here to look at is they have the Wanhai 1:15, the Crystal 1:15, and the Maersk Evora at 1:15, all almost north-south in a line, showing relative position Maersk Evora closer to Crystal than Wanhai is. Now, here's 1:15, and this is the AIS track. Okay, we have the Crystal, we have the Wanhai. There's no track of the Maersk Evora at that time. I'm going to play this forward and I'll show you the first time that they pop up a track for that vessel. There. This is 1:30. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Okay, so look at the relative position at 1:30. Here's the Merskavora. She's going roughly northeast. All these ships are kind of northeast-ish in their track. And this is the alleged time of the event now, supposedly. Okay, the Baichi Bridge doesn't even show up on the Navy's report anywhere, even though it's clearly right in the middle of this event. Now, watch what happens. Okay, we've seen this a million times. We have no track on the Evora. We see the Wan Hai up there still. Now I'm playing this forward at 2x. Okay, now there's the Evora again. So now we're at 145. So 145, we're seeing that the Merskavora is continuing running parallel with the crystal in the Wan Hai. But look at the report. This shows the Merskavora turning away from the event. That doesn't make any sense with reality. And I'll show you again, as we go forward in this, that she continues to run parallel all the way up to the 2 o'clock. Okay, we're at 151 here. There's the Baichi Bridge, the ACX crystal. The Wan Hai is not on the screen here. But this is, like I said, 150. I'm going to play this forward. Okay, that's 154. Still right by the crystal. Now there's 2 o'clock. And there's the Merskavora. The Baichi Bridge has just turned off her AIS. No report from the Navy about the proximity of that vessel. And the Merskavora, 208, 210, 212, 215, finally she disappears. Now here's 220. This is when the Navy 3 times has insisted the event happened. And they haven't updated it, not on their command page, nor on their YouTube. And it's been, what, 8 months? This is when they say it happened. I wonder if we're making the mistake here of thinking that a giant container ship like this would have a major hiccup in their attitude and direction of travel if they hit a destroyer. They could have plowed right, could have been here. It really very much, because I don't think this ship, if she was trying to plow right through her, would have shown any kind of a deviation in track. If she just maintained her course at full throttle, there probably would have been no appreciable AIS difference. Because as we see, these things update, on the minute or on the 30 seconds sometimes. So there wouldn't be any huge change in direction. I'm going to just go ahead and play this forward the rest of the way. Here's 2:30. This is when now allegedly everybody reports all this. 2:35, 2:36. And here's another U-turn. Here. So U-turn at 2 o'clock, U-turn at 3 o'clock. Now we're at 3 o'clock in the morning. And we look at this over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, the Navy would have had no reason, if this were just an accident, to lie here. They would have had no reason. Nobody would have expected the Navy to hold a press conference less than 48 hours after the event. Nobody would have expected the Navy to have a full command of all of the facts at that time. That they pushed themselves out there that fast to get in front of reporters to tell everyone what we should believe about this event? That's not how it works. I would have been surprised if they would have done a press conference within a week when you had loss of life like this. I mean, when you get before people that have, cameras pointed at you and pens and pencils or iPads or whatever they use these days, at the ready to write down every little word you say, you better make damn sure every little word you say is accurate. And that hasn't changed since when I was in. And that he was, the guy was a pilot. And he was a distinguished pilot. Attention to detail is not something that is lacking in pilots. Maybe diplomacy is, and maybe his speaking abilities might be, but not attention to detail and not command of the facts. Something else happened here. We're finding way too many discrepancies and way too many inconsistencies in that report, and we've just found another one. It's been 8 months and we're still finding them. It just doesn't make sense. So, anyway, 11 minutes. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Thank you.